How far away is the sun?
93 million miles.
Is it?
Yeah. And the diameter of the sun is 870,000 miles, which makes it 109 times wider than the Earth, and 333,000 times heavier than the Earth.
Shut up about the sun! Shut up about the sun!
Hi everyone and welcome to Priority Holder, and today we'll be playing 4-color Approach Omniscience in the Explorer format. Now the namesake card is Approach of the Second Sun. 7 mana sorcery, then when we cast it for the first time, we gain 7 life and it tucks itself 7 cards deep in our deck. The second time, if we cast it from our hand, we win the game. And so that's what we're trying to do, is cast this twice to win. However, this is 7 mana, which is quite a lot, so we're going to try and cheat that cost by using Omniscience, which is an enchantment that lets us play spells from our hand without paying their mana costs. However, Omniscience costs 10 mana, so we're going to cheat that into play as well, using Invasion of Tolvada, which is a 5 mana battle that can reanimate a permanent, or Invoke Justice, which can also reanimate a permanent. And so the rest of the deck is set up to enable that plan to cheat Omniscience into play. So everything else loots or rummages to make that happen. And notably we have Fable of the Mirror Breaker, which can also generate some mana if the goblin survives to attack, rummage a little bit, just provides a lot of value and is on plan. Seize the Spoils to pitch cards and create treasures. Oracle of Tragedy is really nice because when it enters the battlefield or dies, we can draw a card and discard a card. That's the primary option we're choosing on this one. Chart, of course, draws 2 cards and discards, and Otherworldly Gaze surveils. So we're trying to put an Omniscience in the graveyard, reanimate it, and fire off Approach of the Second Sun. Now, because we're so full of looting effects, even if we only have 1 approach in hand, often we can dig to it right away by firing off like a free 0 mana Seagate Restoration, followed by like a Seize the Spoils. You get the idea, we can find the approach pretty quickly. But yeah, we're a non-deterministic combo, and that's how we're trying to win. Let's jump into some games. Alright, this looks like a fine hand. I mean, anytime we can start off with Omniscience and a discard outlet, we're feeling pretty good. Not to mention we have all of our colors, so that's pretty nice. A little concerning that we're facing either mono red or prowess because they're not going to give us many turns. But Oracle of Tragedies should help, so I'm going to go ahead and just, choose the loot option, get the Omniscience right into the graveyard, and we have at least a deterrent for their attacks. Yeah, we're snapping off this block. We'd love for them to spend resources on this expendable creature. Yeah, there's Play with Fire. So it's getting cut down. But we're going to get another loot for our troubles. Oracle Tragedy is really, really good for this strategy. Just buys you time. We have all the pieces. What we actually need are lands. So you could see me having a hard time deciding what to discard. But aside, it's better to keep the Seagate Restorations in case we need to play them as lands. So opponent plays a second main phase Soul Scour Mage and we fire off Chart, of course. Otherworldly Gaze doesn't seem like it's going to be super important here. We're just trying to survive until we can hit 5 mana and fire off that Invasion of Tolvada. Right, Eidolon of the Great Revel. We don't really have many spells that Eidolon even taxes, at least at this point in the game. Now, almost played the Shockland out of habit, but it's better to play the MDFC, which is like a bolt land, because we want an untapped source on turn 5, but with how much damage burn can deal out, we gotta be careful, so opting to be able to shock in a land instead of bolt in a land, and so opponent's hammering us. It appears like it's not gonna be enough though, because it's our turn, and yeah, we drew the Glacial Fortress anyway, so we're gonna slam Invasion of Tolvada, and you're gonna get to see the first Omniscience approach win. So we happen to have 2 approaches already in hand. Otherwise, we might have to dig with Seagate, but this was on easy mode. Now, as we move into the next game, please remember to Diversionary Tactics like button, comment, and subscribe. It supports the channel and helps you know what the people want. Thank you. Now, this hand does not have a red source, but it does have Omniscience, which I think we have to keep those hands. Like, it's just too powerful to be able to pitch Omniscience right away. We have our discard outlet with Chart, of course, so we'll be fishing for a red source. Okay, Warlock class. Not a common play, but usually indicative of a devotion strategy. Now go ahead and get the Triome dealt with. Alright, the opponent plays Gifted Aetherborn. We're going to fire off Fable of the Mirror Breaker. It could be a way for us to set up the turn 4 win right here with the draw step Fable of the Mirror Breaker trigger, and then the token giving us a treasure. Opponent uses Nykthos and unfortunately has the Fatal Push. That's going to set us back at least a turn. Warlock class dings us as well. So we have to decide what to discard. We're definitely discarding Omniscience and trying to figure out what else. The reason it's so hard here is because once we fire off Approach, we're going to need to dig for a second one, except if we just draw a second one. So that was very helpful. So if we can just survive one more turn, presumably. Yeah, and so there's a land, there's a treasure. So we have the requisite 5 mana as long as they don't get funky with some like artifact destruction or somehow kill us from here. So, and were it not for their Fatal Push, we would have had a turn 4 win. We gotta see what they can muster up. I'm thinking it's like Grey Merchant right here. What we don't want to see is Thoughtseize. So a Warlock class level is a little concerning because they could fish for some hand disruption. Because Thoughtseize could ruin our whole plan, but we see Phyrexian Obliterator, and about the happiest you ever see to see a Obliterator on the other side of the battlefield, because we are not interacting at all this game. So we're gonna fire off Invoke Justice, get the Omniscience, and once again, just our like turbo selection has yielded 2 approaches, so that's an automatic win right here, just firing them both off. And yeah, I mean, did we break the format right open? Like, this is coming pretty easy. So yeah, we jump into the next game. This hand is a mulligan with only 1 land. This one is tough. It's, we're already going down a card. We don't have a red source. You could see me almost mulligan this, but I think it's a keep, and we just probably pitch... I was going to pitch Seize the Spoils, but decided Seagate Restoration is probably a little too optimistic. And we might be able to find a red source with Oracle of Tragedy. Planes from the opponent, Oracle of Tragedy. And we're going to go ahead and loot. And decide to discard the shock land. It may come to bite us because we are sort of a low density of lands in this deck. We do need to hit 5 for either Invoke or Invasion of Tolvada. And then we see a Rest in Peace from the opponent, and I have to be real with you, I almost conceded right here because our whole plan is to reanimate Omniscience, right? And so turn 2 Rest in Peace, I guess we're facing like a prison deck. I was thinking we were facing like Solemnity 9 lives or something like that, like a prison build. But decided just to stick with it. The opponent had us under no pressure, and so the opponent plays like a 2/3 that can gain them some life. We're gonna cycle Raffine's Tower. So we're on a new plan now because the reanimation plan is shut down by Rest in Peace. We have no way to interact with that. However, we can still just hard cast Approach twice for the win. So there's our first copy of Approach, and we're already up to 5 mana. We'll be at 6 next turn, and we could play Seagate as a land if needed. So I'm already getting excited about going for just a pure Approach win. But opponent slams Thalia, Gardener, Raven, plays a Lotus Field for good measure. Now we did grab a second Approach, which is nice. However, they both cost 8 mana now, so it's just delaying us quite a bit. So we're gonna play Seagate Restoration as a land and just pass. Fortunately, Oracle can hold back Thalia's attacks. So she is taxing us, but Oracle is giving us some life here. Chart a course. We're just trying to like get lands, and we can pitch our reanimation spells because of Rest in Peace. So Seize the Spoils is nice because that could provide a much needed treasure. But right now we're already at 7 mana sources, Glacial Fortress being the 8th, and we could start the Approach train. Now it's clear the opponent is like on a Hate Bearers deck. We see Containment Priest, Thalia, now here's Draneth Magistrate. So they're just trying to hate on some of the popular strategies in the format. Now here's mana source number 8, so we're going to fire off the first approach, and you could see, despite the setbacks of a turn 2 rest in peace, like, we were able to turbo that out fairly quickly. And the 7 life, like, when you can't just win on the same turn, the 7 life really goes a long way. And this is rough because we had the win once we shocked in Sacred Foundry, but opponent just hit us with Elite Spellbinder, and now our approach is all the way up to 10 mana, and they're realizing they gotta kill us before it's too late. So they're sending in everyone right here, except Thalia, because that would unlock approach even sooner. Now, we have 7 sources and a land we can play in hand, but so presumably we need 10 for that approach. And so I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the best approach to win right now, and basically like what card to pitch. So you can see me really agonizing over it. We know we want to cast Seize the Spoils, and it is a bit of a gamble, but we're gonna get rid of a guaranteed land to get a treasure into play. We got to accelerate it out, and fortunately we drew another copy of approach, so they're just like all over the place in the top of our deck right now. So we should be good right here, unless they hit us with another Elite Spellbinder. So I'm just bracing for impact, like just praying for no Elite Spellbinder to tax away our other one. We still might be able to get around that if we draw an untapped source though. And with Otherworldly Gaze, it's basically completely safe because we can just mill 3 and get to our other approach we tucked. But opponent just slams Elesh Norn, attacks, and don't even need to fire off the Otherworldly Gaze because we knew that we had it. So we fire off approach 2 and we get the win. That felt pretty good against a turn 2 rest in peace. So this hand doesn't look so good. There was no blue source in that one. This is another mulligan. So we mulligan a lot in this deck because it just, your 4 colors, you're clunky. You're really looking for one card. You're looking for Omniscience to pitch, ideally. We don't mulligan that aggressively, but more aggressively than most, I'll say. We're gonna fire off a turn 2 Chart a Course. Had to discard something. Seize the Spoils seems like it's less powerful than Fable. Fable has a lot of upside. Giada, Font of Hope. So we're playing Angels. It's very clear. So we're gonna play Fable, and that's gonna, when it triggers the next chapter, it's gonna allow us to pitch 2. All right, so opponent makes a small mistake. They missed 2 points of damage because Giada has Vigilance, so they could have dinged us for 2. But Righteous Valkyrie for them is gonna be really annoying for us. And here we're just deciding what to discard. And it's always tricky because a lot of these are rummages that we have, so we don't get the full information. We have to pitch stuff and then draw, so it's always tricky figuring out, like, okay, like, how many reanimation spells, how many lands do we keep? Now, I probably could have bluffed this attack. I could have bluffed this way better to maybe chip in for some damage. That was not well executed by me right there, so that was a mistake. And the opponent dings us for 5. We're already down to 13. Youthful Valkyrie. Now, this is a tough turn right here. So, opponent's stuck on lands, but Giada's helping them cast extra stuff anyway. So I'm pitching our extra reanimation spells. We still haven't put an Omniscience into the graveyard, unfortunately. So there's an approach. So I'm going to fire off Otherworldly Gaze here, just to see if by some miracle we can put an Omniscience in the graveyard. And we do find one, so that is amazing. Now, I make what I think is a tactical mistake here. So I forget that I still haven't played a land this turn, that I could bolt in Seagate Restoration, attack with our Goblin, and reanimate Omniscience right now. The problem with that is we have almost no cards in hand to try and fish up approach right away, so it had to wait till next turn. But I should have done that because I neglected to count for Righteous Valkyrie's Anthem going off and us dying to basically any angel, so that one was really tough. We didn't for sure had the win, but we could have been, I guess we would have only been +4 life higher and probably wouldn't have. So in the end, I don't think we were winning that game, but there's just a lot of decision points you have to be careful for. So we have to mulligan, and we're going to tuck approach. Now this is an excellent hand. We have Omniscience and a discard outlet. So, like I said, you do find yourself mulliganing quite often in this deck. Now, it's a Yorion Companion, which, you know, and with Wolfwillow Haven, it becomes pretty clear that we're facing a Devotion deck, but Yorion is sort of uncommon. I normally don't see Yorion Companion because it while powerful, really reduces your hits on like Nykthos because your deck is up to 80 cards. So here's Old Growth Tro, and I'm also not sure why they have a blue source. So this could be some sort of special brew for Devotion right here, but things are chugging along quite nicely for us. Seize the Spoils, we're gonna pitch a second Omniscience. I think there's actually an argument to not pitching that Omniscience, at least yet, because Devotion plays Karn the Great Creator, and they basically always have a Tormod's Crypt in their wish board. So, realizing that, I should have kept an Omniscience just in case the opponent sniffs out that we're trying to... I mean, it's probably pretty obvious what we're trying to do. Now, we had the win right there if we drew an untapped land. We did not, so we're forced to fire off Chart a Course, and we have it all nice and tidy for next turn, but that gives the opponent another window to slam Karn the Great Creator, so we're really worried about that. Just praying for no Karn the Great Creator right here, because it looks like they can't kill us. So Old Growth Troll's just going to smack us. So if we untap, and they don't have any bizarre hand disruption, Invasion's going to win us the game with our double approaches. So I was really panicky when I saw that go off. So it turns out Karn the Great Creator is getting milled by Cavalier of Thorns, but they didn't actually hit one off Storm the Festival, and you could see they passed the turn. I was sort of dumbfounded because I thought, like, sure they're gonna like find a Karn or something like that, and they did not find one. So we're gonna punish them. So here comes Invasion, grabbing an Omniscience, and easy mode once again with 2 approaches back to back for win against Green Devotion. Man, is this deck fun. I mean, we just slam Omniscience into play and maybe just crank off a win right there with Approach of the Second Sun, or otherwise dig our way to it. So just good, clean fun right here, and we just don't care what the heck the opponent's doing. We're just trying to execute our game plan. I will note that this strategy is not invulnerable. Like, we're 4 colors, the mana base is shaky, we're reliant on a few pieces. It did run pretty hot right there, but we didn't run into any Thoughtseize decks, so I want to acknowledge that. But that being said, I think there is a lot of potential here. Now, this list, I would call it refined, but definitely not solved. There's probably some improvements that can be made in the mana base. There's some alternate cards I thought about, like Raffine's Informant. Izzet Charm can do multiple roles. I really, really wanted to get at least like 2 copies of Boon of the Wishgiver in there as like a strong Omniscience hit that was like sort of like a low cost of putting in there, but it was hard to find a way to squeeze it in. We are only running 20 lands, like we can't really go any further. We have 4 with Seagate, but typically the way it works, if it's on hard mode where you're really trying to dig for approach, is you're firing off Seagate Restorations and then firing off Seize the Spoils and stuff to eventually find an approach. But yeah, I think there's some potential, and let me know in the comments what's your favorite spell to cast with Omniscience. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.